We've talked about who Jesus is. We've talked about the cross. We've talked about following him. And we've talked about spiritual growth. But now comes a question that many people struggle with. What does obedience actually look like in real life? Because it is one thing to say, I follow Jesus, and it's another thing to actually live it out. Obedience is where faith becomes visible. Jesus said something very clear in John 14:15. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. Yeah, love is a verb. Love is an action word. Obedience is not about control, it's about love. We don't obey to earn God's love. We obey because we already have it. But then, obedience is daily, not occasionally. Luke 9:23 says, take up your cross daily. And I've mentioned this many times in my other episodes because obedience is not just big moments, it is daily decisions. It is choosing patience instead of anger. It is choosing honesty instead of shortcuts, no matter how tempting it is. Yeah, it is choosing forgiveness instead of resentment or bitterness. It is choosing faith instead of fear. Obedience is built in the small things. Yes, I'm gonna say it again. Obedience is built in the small things. So, let's take a look at obedience in your thought life. You see, obedience starts in the mind. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, take every thought captive. That means you don't just believe every thought you think. You evaluate it. You ask questions like, is this true? Is this aligned with God's word? Replacing lies with truth is obedience. So, how about obedience in your words, my friend? What you say matters. Ephesians 4:29 says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. And I'm going to say, I'm so guilty. I'm so guilty of this. But then, this is what obedience looks like in your words. It is speaking life. It is avoiding gossip. It is being truthful. It is using your words only to build others up. But I know we are all guilty of doing it the other way around because of self righteousness. Yeah. But then, now that we know, we should do, we should avoid what we used to do. So, how about obedience in your actions? Let's take a look at James 1:22. And it says, do not merely listen to the word, do what it says. Obedience means loving others intentionally. It is serving even when it's inconvenient. And this is what I've learned recently. It doesn't mean that whatever is convenient for me, then it is good. Because that's what we thought, right? We want convenience for ourselves. And sometimes we base our decisions on our convenience. And if it's inconvenient for us, we avoid serving. Am I right? I don't know about you, but I myself is guilty of this. And then what else? Doing what's right even when no one is watching. And that, my friend, is integrity. This is where faith becomes visible. How about obedience in hard decisions? And this is where it gets real. Obedience is easy when it's comfortable, right? But what about when it costs you? Like forgiving someone who hurt you, walking away from sin, choosing integrity over convenience, and trusting God when you don't understand. That is where obedience becomes faith. Obedience is not perfection. And let's be clear, you will not obey perfectly. No, no way. You will fail sometimes. But obedience is not about perfection, it's about direction. So, when you fail, confess, receive grace, and keep walking. Yeah, obedience does not save you, but it matters because it reveals your faith. James 2:17 says, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. So, faith and love has something in common. Without action, It's nothing. Obedience strengthens your faith. It aligns your life with God, and it deepens your relationship with Him. So, if you are wondering where to start, start here. Ask yourself daily, what is God asking me to obey today? Then do it, even if it's small, even if it's uncomfortable, even if no one sees. Obedience may feel hard, but it leads to life. As John 10:10 says, I have come that they may have life. God's command or God's commands are not meant to restrict you. It is meant to liberate you and to lead you into fullness. So, the secret to a life that is fruitful and abundant is none other than obedience. Obedience is not a burden, it is the pathway to transformation. It is how your faith becomes real. In the next episode, we are going to talk about something very important. What happens when you struggle, doubt, or feel like giving up? Because every believer goes through that.